speed, precision, and the ability to perform under immense pressure. Now, these are the hallmarks of a global leader. For over 5 decades, FedEx has been synonymous with moving the world, setting the gold standard in reliability and global connectivity. But in a rapidly evolving market like India, being a logistics giant is about more than just moving packages. It's about moving the needle for an entire nation's global ambitions. Now, this strategic drive has found a perfect parallel on the cricket pitch. For the second year running, FedEx has deepened its roots in Indian culture through its collaboration with one of the most successful teams in IPL history, the Chennai Super Kings. Now, it's a collaboration where the purple promise of FedEx meets the yellow legacy of CSK, two brands defined by consistency, resilience, and a shared vision for long-term excellence. To take us behind the scenes of this association and explore how it fuels FedEx's broader strategy for the Indian sports ecosystem, we are joined today by Nitin Navneet Tatiwala. He's the Vice President of Marketing, Customer Experience and Air Network for MISA at FedEx. Nitin, thank you so much for joining us here today. Let's start our conversation. I want to kickstart our conversation talking about something that is the backbone of India's economy, which is the SME sector. Now, we all know that India's SME sector has a lot of export potential, but unfortunately, it's underpenetrated. I wanted to know your thoughts on the role that logistics especially can play in helping India achieve its export targets for the way ahead in the coming years.
Thanks, Sumit. It's a pleasure being here. And to start with, yes, you rightly said, India SME contributes to almost 35% of India's GDP and almost 50% of India's export. Now, today, as we see that the SME in India is not coming out from the major metros, it's moving more and more towards tier 2 and tier 3 markets. As soon as we see a large company setting up a manufacturing plant in India, there is an entire ecosystem of multiple SMEs that starts to come up as OEM manufacturers who are not only supplying to these large conglomerates, but they are also exporting today. Now, logistics needs to be closer to these customers in order to be able to provide world-class services. We see FedEx going into these clusters, customizing the solutions to the requirements of these clusters, and providing world-class services, not only for them to be able to scale within the domestic market, but also from an international market perspective. Now, in India, there are more than 100 such clusters that exist in multiple industries, and we have penetrated and providing services to each and every of these clusters, making international trade, making 220 countries across the globe accessible to them.
Absolutely, and very important points that you've brought in there. And you spoke about the global angle with SMEs going global and providing to companies around the world. What do you think are some of the biggest logistics challenges that Indian SMEs face? And FedEx, I mean, you're present in almost around the world, so many locations. How are you kind of stepping in and helping them solve these challenges?
Yeah, great question, Sumit. So today, if you were to see Indian SMEs, there is no lack of ambition. They want to go global. They want to scale up to the international markets. It's about complexities related to the international trade that is making SMEs overwhelming. Now, international trade could be intimidating to the SMEs, and it's largely related to custom clearance, compliance, documentation, and the entire market entry processes that the customer has to follow. Now, at FedEx, our focus is around how to bring simplicity around this entire complex process. We want the customers and specifically the SMEs to focus on their business, to focus on growth. Leave the logistics management when it comes to FedEx, because we will take care of pickup, your transportation, customs paperwork, or anything related to collecting duties and taxes at the destination as well. Because the SMEs need to spend less time navigating this entire logistic complexities and spend more time in terms of developing new product. The second aspect that comes into picture is the innovation. And this is where FedEx has set up incubation center in India, which is driving new technological innovation, which are designed for SMEs in India and are being taken to the global stage. Now, I'll give you two examples here specifically. Now, there is a FedEx import tool, which was developed for the SMEs in India and was developed by the Indian team as a part of the incubation center. Now, what does this do? This provides simplicity to the Indian customers when they are importing their goods into the country, whether it's related to custom paperwork, collecting duties and taxes, or navigating through the complexities of filing their imports with the government systems. Similarly, there's another thing for export, which we call it as electronic trade documents, which provides similar kind of simplicities when it comes to the outbound trade, cutting down the paperwork that are required for the exports. So in short, make the processes simple in the complex environment of the global trade, which will help SMEs to grow in the international market.
Well, that's really heartening to know, because while SMEs are making in India, making for the world, it's great to see that FedEx is also doing the exact same thing with your incubation center here in India. And, you know, there was a time, and thankfully that time has gone, when, Indian products were not equated to quality. Now the quality thing has been solved, and globally we are known for quality in some of our products. But your thoughts on the importance of speed and reliability, especially in sectors like sporting goods, in healthcare, and also in the larger e-commerce space. How are you seeing this impacting SMEs, again, where they are competing not just on the domestic level but also on the global scale?
So very interesting, because today customers, specifically the SMEs, are not looking only speed or only reliability when it comes to from any service provider. What they need is an end-to-end customer experience as to what this company is able to provide. Now, take a few examples. Now, a small delay can impact their trust with their customers, can impact their repeat business, can impact their brand reputation. And this is where logistics becomes the front and center when it comes to scalability for these kinds of customers. Now, you spoke about healthcare, and healthcare, there are multiple things that are very critical. It's important to have the timing right, which is related to time to speed. It also relates to shipment integrity because these are largely cold chain solutions, and you need to maintain a certain degree of temperature when moving these shipments from one place to another. It requires visibility, and visibility is a critical aspect because I need to know where exactly is the package and what can happen to my package. And this is where FedEx has introduced something called as SensorWare IDs, which are attached to the shipment for monitoring and intervention purposes, so that we know exactly where the packages are and what needs to be done from a predictability perspective of that shipment to be reaching on time. Now, when it comes to another sector, and let's take high tech as an example, the supply chain there is more about precision as well as continuity. But when we talk about e-commerce, on the other hand, you're talking about speed and visibility that shapes the customer experience on a day-to-day basis. So there is no one solution that caters to the entire sector. Each sector has a very different need, and solutionizing, tailoring your product to those requirements is very critical when it comes to such SME solutions and growth.
Competition in every sector has increased over time. So also in the logistics space, especially in India, if you look at the e-commerce boom, the Q-commerce boom has led to a growth in logistic providers, improvement in the overall supply chain space. Looking at that, how are you seeing that, how is FedEx being able to differentiate itself? And when it comes to supporting your SME exporters, what is your X factor? What is your unique selling proposition that you provide to them?
So, Sumit, I would answer this question into two parts. One becomes is what we were talking about, international trade being complex, and how do we simplify this entire international trade. So simplicity is very, very critical. Today, customers do not want to deal with multiple platforms, do not want to have multiple processes, workflows. What they're looking for is a single service provider who manages the entire workflow from an end-to-end perspective. And this is where FedEx comes into picture. We have recently launched a solution called FedEx One Stop Solution, which provides a single window to the customer for all their logistics need. Whether it's a shipment that requires a 2-day service from India to US, or there's an ocean freight that could go into 30 days, or an air freight shipment that is for 7 to 8 days, all is bundled under one single platform so that the customers do not have to toggle around. Their entire workflow management, right from seeing what kind of a transit time am I looking for, what kind of a reliability that I'm looking for, and what am I ready to pay for that particular shipment from point A to point B, all is being done under one single system. Similarly comes the tracking part of it or the monitoring part of it from an intervention standpoint. Now, that's one part which is more related to the traditional transportation solution part of it. The second is that we are using a lot of AI to unlock value and making supply chains smarter for our customers. Now, AI-driven predictability is the first piece that we're working on, which provides insights in terms of what can go wrong in a path of moving shipments from point A to point B, or how do I automate the entire documentation process so that I don't have to reinvent my wheel time and again? Or can I have those digital tools that can anticipate the issue earlier enough for me to be able to be ready to manage those shipments in the future? The second piece that comes into the picture is the innovation part, which we also spoke from an incubation center standpoint, because the whole idea is how do I remove friction from the entire process by reducing error and giving more control to the SMEs when it comes to managing their logistics. So these are certain things which today FedEx is being able to provide that competitive edge, not only to themselves, but also to the customers in order to compete in the international markets where they're competing with the other countries across the globe.
On that note, it's time for a very short break, but don't go anywhere. My conversation with Nitin Navneet Tatiwala of FedEx continues after this short break. Welcome back to this very special episode where I'm in conversation with Nitin Navneet Tatiwala of FedEx, and we're talking about FedEx's partnership with the Chennai Super Kings here on this special episode. Nitin, I want to steer our conversation to another exciting aspect of what you're doing. So, of course, the supply chains is very important and exciting for the SME exporters in India, but for the everyday television and social media watching citizen, I want to talk to you about the exciting partnership that you have with CSK, with Chennai Super Kings, and the IPL. Now, this is you've partnered with them again this year. How are you seeing this collaboration translate into real business outcomes, especially for SMEs in India?
Cool. This is one of my favorite questions to answer. Uh, so, if you see globally, FedEx has been associated with sports, be it NFL in US, be it UEFA in case of football in Europe. Even we do PGA tours where the FedEx Cup is a very well-known property that FedEx owns. So, sports has been a very, very integral part of our brand strategy, and we feel sports is a unifying power that cuts across multiple boundaries and brings people together with pure passion. Now, if you speak specifically for India, cricket is an emotion, it's not a sports anymore. It is a cultural pull, meaning it reflects country's energy, ambition, the entrepreneurial spirit that the country has. Now, this is our second year with CSK, and this partnership is getting stronger. We have a 3-year commitment from our side to be a part of CSK. Now, if on the other hand, if we were to see SMEs today, SMEs have becoming very, very ambitious in India. They are contributing to almost 50% of our exports. Now, this partnership was designed to let the spotlight be on the SMEs from their India growth ambition as to how are they supporting the India's growth momentum, how are they supporting the India growth story. And if we were to see our campaign, which we have just launched, taking cricketing as the platform to communicate that story, FedEx is the move that India needs. And this is where we are celebrating SMEs in the global trade environment. If you were to see our ads, it clearly shows that how an SME sitting in Pune is able to manufacture world-class vaccines which are being distributed across the world, or how an SME sitting in Ludhiana is manufacturing brakes for the German cars and can make the cars stop anywhere based on his manufacturing capability. So that's where we are celebrating and we are honoring these SMEs for the kind of exports, the kind of work that they've done for the India growth story.
Absolutely, and that is truly inspirational because it makes the small player as big a hero as the cricketing superstars. Um, Nitin, but I want to take the same question, but from a little different angle. So, do you feel like partnerships like this are they also influencing how traditional B2B companies build visibility and, most importantly, trust among small business owners? What's your view on that?
See, you use the word trust, and trust in B2B business is all about familiarity. It is about, can I trust this brand, or can I trust this person in the difficult times, or can I rely on this person to be able to help me out in times where I need them the most? It's easy when the times are good. And I would take examples like COVID, or I will take the examples like right now when the Middle East crisis is happening. So when it comes to trust, it needs to be more related to reliability and their performance. Now, similarly, when it comes to cricket, and if you were to see CSK, they have been winners for 5 times in the last 18 seasons. They have been in the playoffs for almost 12 to 14 times. And when it comes to one of the most dependable teams, CSK is treated as the trust factor or the X factor when it comes to cricketing world. And this is where we wanted to use CSK as a connector, as a cultural connector, in order to provide that trust to the customers, familiarity to the customers, that when it comes to trust, it is FedEx, which is the brand that could be trusted when it comes to servicing 220 countries across the world, or when it comes to making sure that your logistics is managed in the most effectful and efficient manner.
Absolutely on point there, Nitin, because the bed, the foundation of anything is trust. And if that's what you can provide to the customers, if that's what the customers can get from any partnership, then that's most important. But Nitin, what also happens is that very often partners provide just a logo visibility. But I know that in this case with FedEx and CSK, it's more than just logo visibility. So I want you to talk to us a little bit about how you're bringing this partnership alive across, community initiatives with customer engagement, digital platforms, etc. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, definitely. So, like you rightly said, having the logo in the back of the jersey is just one part of it in terms of providing that visibility, which is there. There's a lot of things which are being done offline and online from a 360-degree marketing standpoint. If you see vehicles that are there on the road, they are co-branded between FedEx as well as CSK in order to provide that association with the people who are seeing these FedEx vans. We are having events with the customers where they get to get access to the players, which is like a lifetime opportunity, money can't buy kind of an opportunity, which we have done it in Bangalore, we have done it in Mumbai, we have done it in Delhi. We also do certain things like Purple Connect, which is more catered towards tier 2, tier 3 markets, which we also spoke at the earlier stage, where the SMEs are there in these markets and they are growing in these markets. So we have these Purple Connect events not only to provide access to what FedEx is doing from a CSK or from an entertainment part of it, from sports marketing perspective, but also being able to engage with FedEx as a brand as to what FedEx can do for them. On the digital side, we are running a campaign on Geo Hotstar, which is around the FedEx, the Move India needs. And this is again, we are celebrating and honoring the SMEs of India with the kind of work that the SMEs have done at the global scale, which is vaccine manufacturing, which is today being exported globally, brakes, auto components, which are being again exported globally, or the fashion, where again India is at the forefront of exporting fashion across the world. So these are certain aspects that we've been doing as a part of 360. Even this interview is a part of the discussion that we would like to let our customers as well as audience know what is there. We are also doing a lot of social media engagement with the fans, not just from a customer standpoint, but even from a fan standpoint of CSK, to really understand what FedEx as a brand is all about. They may not be using us, but specifically, and then I would say this is something that happens in US. You don't say, I want to ship it. You say, I want to FedEx it. So how do I convert how do I make FedEx as a verb is what the whole idea out over here is about.
100% there, because yes, the moving from being just a noun to a verb is what anybody would want to kind of try and achieve, any brand would try and achieve. So you mentioned earlier that this is the second year of FedEx's partnership with CSK, and that it's a 3-year partnership at present. What outcomes or indicators would tell you that the association is delivering meaningful values for the FedEx brand? What are some of these markers that you have in place?
So for any business, it's ultimately the revenue growth. And what we have seen in the last 18 to 24 months, our investments in India has been paying off. We have doubled our capacity in the last 12 to 18 months. And when I say capacity, I'm talking more from a freighter standpoint. We have now freighters coming in Delhi, Bombay, as well as in Bangalore. And from a top of the mind recall perspective, we have seen a significant improvement coming in from where we started this entire journey with the association with CSK. The other piece also, while FedEx is a well-known brand globally, with this kind of an association, it also provides us easy accessibility to the customers who earlier were feeling FedEx to be a premium brand, non-accessible. And with this partnership, doors are opening up with customers, and we are seeing a lot of retention as well as high amount of new customers who are coming in and signing up with our services and looking for solutions from us.
Well, that's wonderful to know. Yes, because it is about as well as the accessibility that you're getting to the different parts of the country, of course, is something that is completely desirable. Nitin, before I let you go, can you give us some insights into what the next year or the next few years look like for FedEx in India? Some broad, what's the broad roadmap, if you could give us some insights?
So today, meaning we in the last 12 months have gone deeper and penetrated into tier 2, tier 3 markets, and we will continue on this path of getting into more smaller cities and towns to be able to provide our services. They're making heavy investment into Navi Mumbai, which is the new airport which is coming up. And this particular piece will be a hub of its own kind. First one in India being ever built. We have similar hubs in CDG, in Memphis, in Guangzhou, in Kix, Osaka. So we are building a similar kind of a hub in India, and we see this growth trajectory that I just spoke about in terms of continuing. So we will continue to invest in India. We will continue to enable India growth story from an export perspective and provide the much needed impetus when it comes to international trade and the Make in India vision that the Prime Minister has for India.
Well, on that note, Nitin, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and to find out more about what FedEx is doing to support the Indian SMEs and also about your partnership with the Chennai Super Kings. We wish you all the very best for the way ahead. Thank you so much for talking to us here today.
Thank you, Sumit. It was a pleasure talking to you.